I heard you bought a luxury villa in the Adirondacks. We came to stay with you and make peace. My son-in-law said bringing his luggage into the house. I didn't stop them, but when they stepped inside, they would be shocked by what they saw. As for me, I had already made my choice, and the price I paid was something I never saw coming. But before I tell you what happened when they walked into that hall, drop a comment below, and let me know where you're watching this story from. Are you at home at work, or somewhere else I need to know? I'm not alone in facing impossible choices like this. The hinge groaned under my wrench, a sound I'd grown to appreciate over the past 4 years. Honest works simple problems with simple solutions. Not like the tangled messes of human lives I'd spent 37 years trying to untangle as a social worker. I stepped back, testing the cabin door. It swung smooth and silent now, the way it should. Through the doorway, I could see the late afternoon sun slanting through the pines, turning everything gold. October in the Adirondacks, my favorite time of year. The tourists had gone home and the mountains belonged to us again. Pine Valley Recovery Center sat nestled in a hollow between two ridges, a collection of 6 weathered cabins surrounding a main house that had seen better days. Nothing fancy, nothing that would catch your eye driving past, if you could even find the gravel road that switchbacked up here. That was the point. Women came here when they needed to disappear, when their own homes had become hunting grounds. The main house where I lived overlooked the valley. From my porch, I could see all 6 cabins, the garden plot Helen had insisted on planting last spring, the fire pit where we gathered on cool evenings. A kingdom you could walk across in 5 minutes, small enough to protect. That mattered. The place had cost me everything. $520,000, every penny I'd saved over 37 years of government paychecks, overtime shifts, and living in a 1-bedroom apartment while my colleagues bought houses in the suburbs. My ex-wife thought I was crazy when I told her I was buying property in the mountains after the divorce. "You'll die alone up there, Michael," she'd said. She was wrong about the dying alone part. At least I hoped she was. I gathered my tools, dropping them into the old canvas bag I'd carried since my 20s. My back protested as I straightened. 59 wasn't old, but it wasn't young either. The door could have waited until Monday. The residents were in town for their Saturday therapy session and wouldn't be back until 5. But idle hands meant idle thoughts. And I'd learned to keep myself busy on these quiet afternoons. Quiet didn't mean peaceful, though, not entirely. The thing about working with trauma survivors, and I'd done it since Reagan was president, was that you developed instincts. Little alarm bells that went off when something wasn't right. Even if you couldn't name what right now standing in the lengthening shadows with nothing but birdsong and wind in the pines. Those bells should have been silent. They weren't. I told myself I was being paranoid. 4 years up here had turned me into one of those mountain hermits who jumped at shadows. But 37 years of social work had also taught me to trust my gut, and my gut was saying something wasn't right. Then I heard it. The sound of an engine, not the van bringing the residents back. Wrong pitch, wrong rhythm. This was expensive, powerful, the kind of car that had no business climbing a rutted mountain road to a shelter that survived on grants and donations. I set down my tool bag and walked to the edge of the clearing where the driveway emerged from the trees. The engine sound grew louder, echoing off the ridge walls. Whoever it was, they were taking the curbs fast. Too fast for these roads if you didn't know them. My hand went to my phone in my pocket. Sheriff Brennan's number was on speed dial in Necessity up here, where help was 45 minutes away on a good day, but I didn't call. Not yet. Could be someone lost. Could be a donor who decided to visit unannounced, though I'd specifically asked people not to do that. The women here needed privacy predictability. Surprises were triggers. The car crested the final rise, a black sedan new enough that it still gleamed despite the dust. New York plates. My chest tightened. It pulled into the clearing with an assurance that said the driver knew exactly where they were going. The engine cut off. For a moment, nothing happened. Just two doors sitting closed. Tinted windows hiding whoever sat inside. The afternoon had gone very quiet. Even the birds had stopped singing. Then both doors opened. The woman who emerged from the driver's side wore clothes that cost more than I spent on groceries in a month. Designer jeans, leather jackets, sunglasses that were definitely not from the gas station. Her blonde hair was pulled back in a way that took effort to look effortless. She pulled off her sunglasses, and even from 30 FT away, I could see her scanning the property with calculating eyes. The man from the passenger side matched her expensive casual clothes, the kind of practice stubble that came from an electric trimmer, not actual work. He had his phone out already photographing the main house like he was a real estate appraiser. I knew who they were before I saw her face clearly. 4 years. 4 years since I'd seen my daughter Rachel in person. 4 years since she'd made it clear that her life in Manhattan, her event planning business, her up and coming husband, her circle of influencers and investors had no room for a retired social worker who'd spent his life poor by choice. The last time we'd spoken on the phone, she'd called me financially irresponsible for throwing away my savings on some charity project. I'd tried to explain that Pine Valley wasn't charity, it was purpose. She'd hung up on me. Now here she was, walking toward me with that particular stride she'd inherited from her mother, determined, purposeful, and absolutely certain of her welcome. "Dad?" she called out. Not "Hi, Dad." Or surprised, just Dad, flat and businesslike, like we were colleagues running into each other at a conference. The man Chad. I remembered his name was Chad, followed a step behind her, still filming with his phone, recording my home, recording my sanctuary. Every instinct I developed over 4 decades of social work was screaming now. "Rachel, I managed." My voice sounded strange to my own ears. "What are you doing here?" She stopped 10 FT away, and I could see her face clearly now. She'd aged since I'd last seen her fine lines around her eyes, a tightness to her mouth that hadn't been there before. But it was her eyes that caught me. They were hard, desperate. "We need to talk," she said. Then before I could respond, she turned to Chad. "Get the luggage. We're staying." My blood went cold. "Rachel, you can't just..." But she was already walking past me toward the main house, moving with the kind of confidence that said she'd made up her mind and expected the world to accommodate her. I recognized that stride before I saw what it meant. Rachel, my daughter, and she wasn't alone. I followed them inside not because I wanted to, but because I couldn't let them wander through my home unsupervised. Rachel moved through the front door like she owned the place. Chad half a step behind his phone, out filming everything. "Rachel, stop." My voice came out sharp. "You can't just what, Dad? Visit my own father." She didn't turn around, just kept walking toward the main room. Her heels clicked against the hardwood, expensive shoes that had no business on mountain floors. We drove 4 hours. The least you can do is talk to us. 4 hours from Manhattan. They'd planned this. Packed bags, made the drive, found the address I'd specifically never given her. Mrs. Williams, my old neighbor from Queens. She was the only one who knew exactly where I'd gone. Had Rachel tracked me down through her? Chad was filming the hallway, now panning across the frame photos of residents working in gardens, laughing around tables. Something about the way he lingered on each image made my skin crawl. "Sir, nice place you've got here." Chad's voice had that practiced friendliness of someone who sold things for a living. Real rustic. Must be worth a pretty penny with all this land. Worth that word. I heard it and knew this wasn't a reconciliation visit. Rachel reached the archway to the main hall and stopped so abruptly that Chad nearly walked into her. I came up behind them, about to insist we talk in the kitchen somewhere private, when I saw what had frozen her. The wall. 3 dozen photographs covered the entire south wall. A collage I'd spent weeks arranging with Helen's help. Every woman who'd come through Pine Valley in 4 years, captured in moments of healing. Olivia holding newborn Chloe. Sarah on her 70th birthday. Deborah receiving her counseling certification. And in every photo somewhere in the frame, me not centered, never the focus. But they're proof that these women hadn't been alone. Rachel's hand came up to her mouth. For a second, I thought she might be moved. Then she lowered it, and I saw her expression. Disgust. What the hell is this, Dad? I started, but Chad cut me off. Who are all these people? He zoomed in on individual photos on the names written beneath in Helen's careful calligraphy. Maria and Elena Dorothy, Rebecca, Sarah. He lowered his phone. This isn't a vacation home at all, is it? No, I said quietly. It's not. Rachel spun to face me, and I saw something I'd never seen before. The look of someone whose plans had just collapsed. Oh, what is this place? I wanted to ease into it, explain gently the way I'd explained to skeptical officials and suspicious neighbors. But something about the way they'd barged in, the way Chad was recording everything, the way Rachel was looking at those photos, like they were evidence of something shameful. It made me angry. This is Pine Valley Recovery Center, I said, meeting her eyes. It's a shelter for survivors of domestic violence. The words landed like stones. Rachel's face went through confusion, disbelief, and finally something like horror, a shelter. She repeated it like I'd said it was a crack house. You spent your money on a shelter. My money? Yes. How much, Chad asked, too eager? Property up here. All this acreage must have been, what, $200,000 to $520,000. I said everything I saved over 37 years. Rachel made a sound like someone had punched her. 500. Dad, please tell me you're joking. It's a licensed nonprofit. I continued, keeping my voice level. We serve 6 to 12 women at a time, sometimes their children. The state provides some funding, but most operating costs come from donations. And you gave away $500,000. Rachel's voice shook. To strangers, to these people. These people have names, I said quietly. Maria fled her boyfriend after he put her in the hospital. 9 months pregnant, nowhere to go. Sarah's own children stole her savings and abandoned her. Deborah spent 20 years with a man who told her she was worthless every single day. I don't need their life stories. Rachel cut me off, voice gone hard. I need to understand what you were thinking, where her inheritance was going. She didn't say it. The words hung in the air anyway. This is my retirement, Rachel. I said each word careful. This is what I chose to do with my life after the divorce. After you made it clear you didn't need me anymore. We didn't say that. She started, but we both knew she was lying. Chad's phone was still up, still recording. I wanted to snatch it from his hands. Instead, I turned my back and walked to the kitchen. If we were doing this, I needed coffee. They followed, of course. Rachel's heels, Chad's sneakers squeaking on the clean floor. Dad. Rachel's voice softer now, almost pleading. We didn't drive up here to fight. I turned coffee pot in hand. Then why did you come? She glanced at Chad. He nodded. We're in trouble, Rachel said. The words came out flat. Rehearsed. Business has been difficult. We've made bad decisions. We thought maybe we could stay here just for a little while. Help you run this place. Every word rang false. 37 years of interviewing people in crisis, separating truth from desperation, from lies. I knew a con when I heard one. And my daughter was running a con on me, but I didn't call her out. Not yet. I needed to understand what they really wanted first, why they'd really come. Stay here, I repeated slowly. At Pine Valley, a domestic violence shelter. Well, when you put it like that, Chad started. How else would I put it? I turned to Rachel. You want to stay at a shelter for abused women? You and your husband? While you, what helped me run it? Do you have any training in trauma counseling, crisis, intervention? Any idea what these women have been through? Rachel's jaw tightened. Chad's eyes narrowed. This wasn't going the way they'd planned. Before I could push further, before I could demand honesty, Rachel's voice turned sharp as breaking glass. Dad, we need you to explain everything right now. The silence stretched between us like a drawn blade. Rachel stood in my kitchen. My kitchen in the home I'd built from nothing, waiting for me to justify my life to her. Chad leaned against the counter, phone in hand, that fake friendly smile gone. This was a business meeting to them. You want me to explain everything I said? All right. I pulled out a chair and sat. Not because I was tired, but because I wouldn't let my own daughter make me feel like a defendant in my own home. Pine Valley is a licensed nonprofit, I began. We provide temporary housing for survivors of domestic violence and their children. They stay here while they figure out their next steps, find jobs, get therapy, learn they're worth more than what they were told. So they just live here for free. Rachel's tone made it sound like a disease. Most can't pay anything. They come here with nothing, sometimes just the clothes they're wearing. And operating costs, Chad asked that edge back in his voice. Maintenance, food, utilities, there it was. That laser focus on money, not the mission, just numbers. The state provides about $40,000 a year. The rest comes from donations and my pension. Rachel's eyes widened. Your pension, Dad? That's supposed to be for your retirement. This is my retirement, I said. Each word came out harder than intended. This is what I chose. But the property... Chad pressed fingers, moving on his phone, typing something, calculating. It's in your name, right? Not the nonprofit's alarm bells. That wasn't casual curiosity. That was specific legal knowledge. It's held in trust for the organization. I said carefully, but yes, technically it's still in my name. The transition to full nonprofit ownership takes years. So you own it, Chad interrupted. Personally on paper, but I can't just sell it and pocket the money. There are legal obligations, state oversight. But if the nonprofit dissolved, Chad said, not even pretending to be casual anymore. If it shut down, the property would revert to you as personal asset, right? My chest tightened. Why are you asking that? Just trying to understand the situation. But his eyes had that gleam people got when they saw an angle. Real estate up here is appreciated. Property values in the Adirondacks, 30% in the last few years. He'd researched this. Before coming here, he'd looked up property values nonprofit law. This wasn't spontaneous. This was planned. I'm not shutting down Pine Valley, I said flatly. Of course not, Rachel said quickly. Too quickly. We're just trying to understand how you're managing financially. I manage fine. But there's no backup, Chad said. No emergency fund. If something went wrong, you'd be wiped out. I'd figure it out. Same way I always have. Rachel leaned forward, desperation flickering in her eyes. Dad, you're 59 years old, running a nonprofit with no safety net. What happens when you can't do this anymore? What happens to these women? Then? Making it sound like concern for the residents when really she was asking. What happens to the property when you die? I've made arrangements, I said. Half true. I drafted paperwork, talked to lawyers. Nothing finalized yet. Chad's phone buzzed. He glanced at it and his face went completely white. Color drained so fast I thought he might pass out. You okay? I asked. Fine. But his hand shook as he silenced the phone. Just a client. Liar. That wasn't a client. That was something that scared him. Rachel had seen it too. She touched his arm. He pulled away. Sharp, defensive. Then caught himself and forced a smile. Sorry, just stressed. Business stuff. The business problems you mentioned, I said. What exactly is going on? They exchanged a look, the kind couples develop when they've told the same lie too many times. It's just the market, Rachel said. Event planning is competitive. Cash flow issues. Nothing we can't handle. More lies. I'd spent 4 decades interviewing people in crisis. I knew genuine trouble when I saw it. How much do you owe? I asked directly. Chad's phone buzzed again. This time he didn't look. Just let it vibrate on the counter. Ignored like a bomb he was afraid to touch. It's not about owing, Rachel said. It's about timing. We've got receivables coming in, but they're delayed. Rachel. I said her name like I used to when she was a teenager lying about curfew. How much she opened her mouth, but before she could answer, the sound of a van pulling up outside. Engine cutting off, doors opening. Women's voices tired but lighter than they had been that morning. Laughter. The residents were back early. Rachel's face did something complicated. Annoyance, then calculation, then panic. Chad shoved his phone in his pocket. We should probably know, Rachel said sharply. We stay. I want to meet these people Dad's so devoted to. The way she said these people made my skin crawl. Through the window I could see them. Olivia with baby Chloe bundled against the October chill. Helen moving slower, arthritis acting up. Deborah carrying grocery bags. My family coming home, and Rachel was about to meet them with that disgust she couldn't quite hide. I stood fast enough that my chair scraped. Rachel, if you can't be respectful, the front door opened. Footsteps. Olivia's voice warm and completely unaware. Michael were back. We brought pie from the bakery. She appeared in the doorway, Chloe on her hip, and stopped. Saw Rachel, saw Chad, saw me bracing for impact. Her smile didn't falter, but I saw the question in her eyes. The weariness. Women who'd survived what she had learned to read rooms fast. Oh, she said softly. I'm sorry. I didn't know you had visitors. I watched Rachel's mouth open, then freeze. The front door swung wide. Voices poured in, bright and easy, laced with laughter that belonged to people who had earned it the hard way. And I'm telling you, Deborah, you cannot trust a recipe that calls for 2 cups of baking soda. Helen, for the last time, it was baking powder. Rachel's head snapped toward the sound. Chad's phone buzzed again in his palm. His jaw tightened. I forced myself to breathe. Not now. Olivia appeared first in the doorway. Chloe balanced on her hip. The little girl's face was sticky with what looked like raspberry jam, her curls wild in the October wind. Behind them came Helen carrying a canvas grocery bag, and Deborah arms full of library books. Olivia's smile, warm, genuine, unguarded, faltered the moment she saw Rachel and Chad. Oh, she stopped. Michael, I didn't know you had. It's fine, I said quickly. I stepped forward, trying to position myself between my daughter and the women who'd become my family. This is Rachel, my daughter, and her husband, Chad. The silence that followed lasted 3 heartbeats too long. Helen's eyes narrowed. Deborah's grip on the books tightened. Rachel recovered first. She straightened, smoothing her expression into something that might have passed for friendliness if you didn't know what to look for. I knew 37 years of reading people had taught me to see the calculation behind a smile. Dad, Rachel said softly, turning back to me. We should talk privately. We're in the middle of it's important. Her voice cracked on the last word. Genuine desperation or performance, I couldn't tell anymore. Chad stepped closer to Rachel, one hand resting on the small of her back, protective, possessive. His phone buzzed again. He didn't look at it. Olivia shifted Chloe to her other hip. The toddler stared at Rachel with the blunt, unfiltered curiosity of a 2-year-old. Pretty? Chloe said, reaching one jam-sticky hand toward Rachel's silk blouse. Rachel recoiled. It was instinct, a half step back, her nose wrinkling, but it was enough. Olivia saw it, so did Helen. Deborah's expression went cold. "We'll give you space," Olivia said quietly. She met my eyes, and in that look was a question. "Do you need us to stay?" I shook my head. "I'll catch up with you all in a bit." Helen didn't move. "You sure I'm sure?" The three women filed past, but Helen paused at the threshold to the hallway. She looked at Rachel, then Chad, then back at me. "We'll be in the kitchen if you need anything." It wasn't an offer, it was a warning. When they were gone, Rachel exhaled. "Dad, we need to be honest with each other." "You keep saying that." I crossed my arms. "So be honest." Rachel glanced at Chad. He gave her the smallest nod. "Our business is struggling." She spoke carefully, like she was picking her way through a minefield. The event planning company. We had a few bad months, some clients didn't pay, others backed out, she swallowed. We're in a difficult position. My social work instincts kicked in. The same ones that had kept me alive in crack houses and domestic violence calls for nearly 4 decades. I watched Rachel's hands, the way her fingers twisted together. I watched Chad's eyes, how they flicked toward the hallway where the women had disappeared. "How difficult?" I asked. "We owe about $95,000. The number hit me like a fist to the sternum. $95,000. Credit cards, business loans, some personal debts." Rachel's voice wavered. "We thought if we came here, stayed for a little while, we could figure things out. Maybe you could help us. Help you." How Rachel's gaze slid toward the window, toward the mountains beyond. "This place is worth a lot of money, Dad." And there it was. I felt the floor tilt beneath me. "This isn't a vacation home, Rachel. It's a nonprofit. But you own it." Chad spoke for the first time since the women had arrived. His voice was smooth, reasonable. "Legally on paper, you could sell it or take out a loan against it." I stared at him. "These women have nowhere else to go." "There are other shelters," Rachel said quickly. "State facilities." "They'd be fine." "Fine." The word came out sharper than I intended. I forced myself to breathe. "Do you have any idea what it takes for a woman to leave an abuser? The planning, the fear, I stopped, shook my head. "You don't. You can't. Dad, please." Rachel stepped closer. Her eyes were bright with unshed tears. Real ones this time. "We're desperate. If we don't pay this money back," Chad's phone buzzed. Louder this time. Insistent. He pulled it from his pocket, glanced at the screen, and went white. "Who is it?" Rachel whispered. Chad didn't answer. He turned away, typing fast, his shoulders rigid. My pulse kicked up. "What's going on?" "Nothing." Rachel's smile was brittle. "Chad's just, there's a client who's been, don't lie to me." The words came out flat, final. Rachel's expression crumpled. "Dad." I'm not a sound from the hallway. Footsteps. I turned. Olivia stood in the doorway, Chloe no longer on her hip. Her face was pale, her hands clasped in front of her, like she was bracing for impact. "Michael," she said softly. I'm sorry to interrupt, but she hesitated, eyes darting to Rachel and Chad. "We need to talk now." I turned back to Olivia, trying to steady my voice. "Olivia, this is Rachel, my daughter, and her husband, Chad." The words felt strange in my mouth. My daughter? 4 years of silence, and now she was standing in my living room, asking me to destroy everything I'd built. Olivia's face lit up. "Oh my God, Michael, your daughter." She stepped forward, hand extended, smile genuine and warm. "It's so nice to finally meet you. Michael talks about you all." She stopped. Rachel hadn't moved, hadn't taken her hand. Olivia's smile faltered. She lowered her hand slowly. "Right?" Olivia said quietly. "Well, it's nice to meet you." Rachel's lips curved into something that might have been a smile if you didn't look too closely. "Likewise." Chad didn't even glance at Olivia. His eyes were fixed on his phone, thumb scrolling. Chloe's voice drifted from the kitchen singing something off-key about ducks, and his mouth tightened in irritation. Cute kid Rachel said her tone said the opposite. Olivia's jaw set. Thank you. I stepped between them, hands raised. Listen, we're all just dad. Rachel turned to me, voice dropping. How many people are staying here? 6 women right now, sometimes more. 6? Rachel repeated the word like it tasted bad. And they all just live here for free. It's not a hotel, Rachel, it's a shelter. A shelter you bought with your life savings. Her voice sharpened. Money that could have. She stopped herself, glanced at Olivia. Never mind, but I'd heard it. Money that could have been mine. Olivia heard it too. I watched her shoulders straighten, watched the social worker in her wake up. Michael saved my life, she said, quietly. And Chloe's. We'd be dead if it wasn't for this place. Rachel's smile went brittle. I'm sure you believe that. Excuse me, I'm just saying. Rachel's voice stayed light conversational, but I could hear the edge beneath it. People get comfortable. They stop trying. It's easy to stay dependent when someone's taking care of everything for you. The air in the room went cold. Rachel, I started. What did you just say? Olivia's voice was soft. Dangerous. Rachel shrugged. I'm not trying to be rude, I'm just being honest. My dad has a tendency to collect strays, and strays have a way of sticking around. Strays. I felt the word like a slap. That's enough. Is it? Rachel turned to me. Dad, look around. You've turned your home into a halfway house for don't. My voice came out harder than I'd intended. Don't finish that sentence. Footsteps in the hallway. Helen appeared, still holding her grocery bag. Deborah was right behind her. Everything okay out here? Helen's eyes moved from me to Rachel to Chad, who still hadn't looked up from his phone. We heard voices. We're fine, I said quickly. Are we? Helen set the grocery bag down, her gaze fixed on Rachel. Because it sounded like someone just called us strays. Rachel's smile didn't waver. I didn't mean, yes, you did. Deborah's voice was calm, measured. The voice she'd used as a high school principal, the one that could silence a room of teenagers. You meant every word. Chad finally looked up. His eyes swept over Helen and Deborah like they were furniture. Look, we're not trying to cause trouble. We just think Michael deserves to enjoy his retirement, not spend it playing social worker for. He paused. People who should be standing on their own 2 feet. Helen laughed. It wasn't a nice sound. Standing on our own 2 feet. That's rich. Helen? I started. No. She stepped forward and I saw Rachel flinch. You want to talk about standing on our own feet? I'm 68 years old. My husband stole my pension, my savings, everything I had. Left me with nothing but a restraining order and the clothes on my back. I worked 40 years as a nurse, and I ended up sleeping in my car. That's Rachel began. I'm not done. Helen's voice was steel. Olivia over there. She's 21. 21. Her boyfriend broke 3 of her ribs and fractured her jaw. She walked 10 miles through a snowstorm with a baby on her hip to get away from him. You think she's not trying? Deborah stepped beside Helen. I was a high school principal. I had a career, a house, respect. And then I spent 2 years being told I was worthless, stupid, crazy. By the time I got out, I couldn't remember who I was. Michael gave me a place to find out. Rachel's face had gone pale, but her chin lifted. I'm sorry for what you've been through. I am, but my father spent $520 on this place, his life savings. And now you're all what I asked, quietly. Rachel turned to me. Dependent on you. How's that fair to you, Dad? Fair? The word came out sharper than I had intended. You want to talk about fair? Michael Olivia's hand touched my arm. Gentle grounding. It's okay. It's not okay. I looked at my daughter. really looked at her. The designer clothes, the manicured nails, the cold calculation in her eyes. You show up after 4 years of silence. You don't ask how I am. You don't ask about my life. You just want to know how much this place is worth. That's not Rachel's voice cracked. Chad's phone rang. Loud, jarring. We all turned. The screen lit up. Unknown number. Chad stared at it. His hand started shaking just slightly, just enough for me to notice. "Aren't you going to answer that?" I asked. It's Chad swallowed. Probably a spam call. The phone kept ringing. Rachel's eyes darted to Chad, then back to me. The phone went silent, then immediately started ringing again. Unknown number. Chad's face drained of color. He looked at Rachel a look I couldn't quite read, and then at the phone in his hand. "Answer it," Rachel whispered. "I can't answer it." Chad glanced at me, then at the women standing in my living room, his jaw clenched. Without a word, he turned and walked quickly toward the hallway, phone pressed to his ear. I heard his voice low and urgent. "I told you I need more time." The rest was muffled as he disappeared around the corner. Rachel stood, frozen eyes fixed on the space where Chad had been. "Rachel," I said quietly. "Who was that?" She didn't answer. "Rachel, who was that?" When she finally looked at me, I saw something I hadn't seen in years. Fear. Chad's voice drifted from the hallway, low, urgent, but not low enough. The house was small, built for intimacy, for safety. Sound carried. I know Chad was saying, I know. 45 days. I remember. Rachel's face had gone chalk white. Olivia's hand found mine squeezed once. "I'm working on it," Chad continued, his voice cracked. "My father-in-law, he's got property real estate. It's worth almost $1 million. I just need a few more days to convince him." My stomach dropped. "Please don't hurt her. This isn't her fault." Chad's voice broke. "I'll get you the money. All of it, I swear. Just don't go near Rachel." The line went dead. Silence stretched through the house. I could hear my pulse in my ears. Could hear Chloe humming in the kitchen, oblivious. Chad appeared in the doorway. His face was ashen, his shirt collar dark with sweat. His hand shook as he shoved his phone into his pocket. He looked at Rachel first, then at me. "Everything okay?" I asked. My voice came out calmer than I felt. "Wrong number," Chad said too quickly. "Wrong number." I repeated the words slowly. That lasted 3 minutes. Telemarketer. But that was a threat. The words came out flat. "Someone threatened Rachel, and you told them I have property worth $1 million. Chad's jaw clenched. "You're misunderstanding. 45 days. Helen said she was watching Chad like a hawk. That's a deadline for payment." Deborah's eyes had gone sharp. "How much do you owe?" "We don't." Chad started. How much? Rachel's breath hitched. $95,000. The number hung in the air. "Jesus Christ," Olivia whispered. "It's not what you think," Rachel said quickly. "We borrowed money for the business. Things got complicated. We just need time to..." "Who did you borrow from?" I asked. Silence. "Rachel, who did you borrow from?" "A private lender." Her voice was small. "Someone Chad knew. He said the terms were flexible." Flexible. I looked at Chad. "Is that what you'd call threatening my daughter?" Chad's face flushed. "It's under control." Under control, I felt something cold settle in my chest. "You just told someone I have $1 million in real estate. You're planning to convince me to sell Pine Valley to pay off your loan shark. He's not a Chad." Stopped himself. "Not a loan." "Shark?" Helen's voice was acid. "Then what is?" "He?" Chad didn't answer. Rachel was crying now. Silent tears that tracked through her makeup. "Dad, I'm sorry. We didn't know what else to do." "You could have asked for help," I said quietly. "You could have called me. You spent our inheritance on this place." Rachel's voice cracked. "You spent $500,000 on strangers. They're not strangers. They're not your family. The words hit like a punch. I saw Olivia flinch, saw Helen's jaw set hard. Yes, I said quietly. They are. Rachel's face crumpled. Dad, you want to talk about family? These women have been here for me. They've helped me build this place. They've trusted me with their lives. Where were you? I didn't know. You didn't ask. I turned to Chad. How long do you have to pay this money back? Chad's eyes slid away. 6 weeks. 5 now. And if you don't, his silence was answer enough. Olivia's hand touched my arm. Michael, we should. She stopped, her eyes fixed on something behind me. I turned. Deborah stood at the entry table holding something in her hand. A phone not hers. Chad, Deborah said softly, You left this here? Chad's face went from white to gray. Us. That's give me that. He lunged. Deborah stepped back, eyes on the screen. The screen was lit. A red dot pulsed in the corner, recording Chad. Deborah's voice cut through the room like a blade. Why is your phone recording us? Time seemed to stop. Rachel's mouth opened, closed. What? The phone? Deborah turned the screen toward us. The recording app was open, timer running. It's been recording since you walked in. I stared at the red dot, pulsing, counting. 43 minutes, 27 seconds. That's Chad's voice came out strangled. That's not what? Helen moved to Deborah's side. Not your phone, not recording. Chad looked at Rachel. Something passed between them, something desperate. We needed evidence, Rachel said quietly. The words didn't make sense. Evidence of what have she swallowed? Of the conditions here, the women, how you're living. The air went out of my lungs. You're collecting evidence, Olivia said slowly. To do what Rachel's eyes filled with tears. Dad, you're not thinking clearly. You've isolated yourself. You've given away everything to people who are taking advantage of you. Say it. Helen's voice was cold. Finish that sentence. They've manipulated you. Rachel's voice broke. They've made you think you need to save them, and now you've got nothing left for your actual family. I looked at my daughter at the designer clothes. The perfect makeup now streaked with tears. The desperation in her eyes. That wasn't about me at all. You're going to use this recording? I said quietly. To prove I'm incompetent, get conservatorship, force me to sell. Rachel's silence was confirmation. You're going to destroy this place, destroy these women's lives to save yourselves. Chad grabbed for the phone. Deborah held it out of reach. Everyone here heard what you said. Deborah told him about the debt, the deadline, the threat. You think a recording of us is going to help your case? Chad's eyes went wild, trapped. Rachel reached for my hand. Dad, please. We're desperate. If we don't pay this money, then you face the consequences, I said quietly. Not these women, not Pine Valley, you. Rachel's hand fell away. The red dot kept pulsing. 44 minutes, 11 seconds. Deborah's thumb hovered over the screen. Should I stop it? I looked at Rachel, at Chad, at the phone recording, every word, every breath, every desperate lie. No, I said let it run. The red dot pulsed. 44 minutes, 18 seconds. Chad stared at the phone in Deborah's hand like it was a live grenade. I can explain, please do, Deborah said. Her voice had gone ice cold, the principal voice, the one that didn't accept excuses. It was Chad's hands moved uselessly. It was an accident. I must have hit record when I pulled it out of my pocket. 44 minutes ago. Helen's eyebrow arched. That's one hell of an accident. Rachel stepped forward. Chad. What did you let me see the phone? I said quietly. Deborah hesitated, then handed it to me. I looked at the screen. The recording app was open, timer still running, but there was more. I tapped the file list. 6 recordings, all labeled, all uploaded to cloud storage. Evidence Pine Valley 2 hours 47 minutes. Evidence 2 Pine Valley 1 hour 14 minutes. Evidence Pine Valley 38 minutes. Evidence Pine Valley 3 hours 12 minutes. Evidence V5 Pine Valley 1 hour 56 minutes. Evidence 6. Pine Valley 44 minutes still recording. My hands went numb. 3 hours, Olivia said softly. She was reading over my shoulder. The longest one is over 3 hours. When did you record 3 hours? I asked. My voice sounded strange, distant. Chad said nothing. Chad. Rachel's voice cracked. When did you last month? He said finally. When we came to scout the place? The words didn't make sense. You've been here before. Once you were in town getting supplies, we told Mrs. Williams we were looking at properties in the area. Chad's voice had gone flat. Defeated. She let us look around. Mrs. Williams. The pieces started clicking together. The neighbor who'd always been a little too interested in Pine Valley, who asked too many questions. Who she gave you access? Helen said to the property when Michael wasn't here. Chad nodded. And you recorded what Deborah's jaw was tight? Conversations, therapy sessions. Just Chad swallowed. General conversations, daily life, how things operated. I scrolled through the files. The timestamps told the story. Recordings from a month ago, 2 weeks ago, yesterday. You've been planning this, I said quietly. For weeks. Rachel's face had gone white. Chad, you said we'd just talk to him. You said talk wasn't going to work. Chad's voice rose. Look at this place. He's given everything away to 2 strangers. Someone had to document it. Someone had to show that he's not what. My voice came out hard. Chad's mouth snapped shut. Say it, I said. Finish that sentence. Not competent, Rachel whispered. He was going to say you're not competent to manage your own affairs? The room went silent. I looked at the phone in my hand. At the labeled files evidence. You were building a case, I said slowly. For conservatorship, Chad's silence was confirmation. You were going to take these recordings to a lawyer, prove I'd lost my judgment, that I was being taken advantage of, get control of my assets, sell Pine Valley. I looked at Rachel. Pay off your debt. Dad. Rachel's voice broke. How much is Pine Valley worth? I asked. In your research, how much did you find out? Rachel's eyes filled with tears. $850,000, maybe more. The number hung between us. More than enough, I said quietly, to pay off $95,000 with plenty left over. It's not like that. That's exactly what it's like. I turned the phone toward her. Evidence. You labeled it evidence. Of what, Rachel? Of me helping women escape abuse? Of me giving them a safe place to heal? Of you throwing away your future? Rachel's voice cracked wide open, raw. Dad, you're sitting on $850,000 and playing saint while your daughter is about to be killed. The word echoed through the room. Olivia's hand found mine squeezed hard. Killed, I repeated. By who? Rachel's face crumpled. The man we borrowed from, he's not a bank. He's not even a legitimate private lender. He's a loan shark, Helen finished. Rachel nodded, tears streaming now. We didn't know at first. Chad said it was just a short-term loan, high interest, but manageable. We'd pay it back in 6 months once the big contracts came through. But they didn't, Deborah said. No. Rachel's voice was barely a whisper. They didn't. And then the interest kept compounding, and then we missed a payment. And then she stopped, swallowed. Then the calls started. What kind of calls? I asked. Threats? At first it was just pay up or else, generic stuff. But then it got specific. Rachel's hands were shaking. He knew where we lived, where I worked, what car I drove. Her voice broke. He sent pictures of me going into the office, getting coffee with a red X over my face. My stomach turned. When did this start? Olivia asked quietly. 3 weeks ago, Chad said. His voice was hollow, after we missed the second payment. And instead of going to the police, Helen said, You decided to steal your father-in-law's home. We're not stealing, Chad started. What would you call it? Helen's voice was steel. Recording him without consent, building a fake case for conservatorship planning to force a sale. What's that if not theft? It's survival. Rachel's voice rose. You don't understand. This man, Dimitri, he doesn't make empty threats. People who don't pay him end up in hospitals or worse. The name hit me like a fist. Dmitry Huvulov, Chad said quietly. Dmitry Vulov. I'd heard the name in my social work days, whispered in emergency rooms and police stations. A lone shark who operated in upstate New York, who preyed on desperate people. How much time do you have? I asked. Really 38 days, Rachel whispered. He gave us 45 days total. It's been a week, 38 days. Just over 5 weeks. I looked at the phone in my hand at the evidence files at my daughter's tear-streaked face. You were going to use these recordings to prove I'm incompetent? I said slowly. File for emergency conservatorship. Force me to sell Pine Valley all without my consent. Rachel's silence was answer enough. And what about them? I gestured to Olivia, Helen, and Deborah. These women, where would they go? There are other shelters. Rachel started. No. Olivia's voice was quiet, firm. There aren't. Not like this. Not where we're safe. Not where we're family. Rachel flinched at the word. Helen's eyes hadn't left Rachel's face. Her voice came out quiet, steely. The recordings, the files labeled evidence. What else were you planning to do with them? Rachel's jaw set. The tears stopped, and I saw something shift in her expression. Something hard calculating. Insurance, she said. The word fell like a stone. Insurance, I repeated slowly. Against what Rachel met my eyes. And in that moment, I didn't recognize my daughter. Against you saying no, she said insurance. I repeated slowly. Against what Rachel met my eyes. And in that moment, I didn't recognize my daughter. Against you saying no, she said. The silence that followed felt like falling. Explain, I said. My voice came out flat, empty. Rachel glanced at Chad. He gave the smallest nod. We found a buyer, Rachel said, quietly. For Pine Valley, a real estate developer. He's willing to pay $900,000 cash, close in 30 days. $900,000 enough to pay off Dimitri with $800,000 left over. But there's a problem, Chad said. His voice had steadied, now gone clinical, like he was explaining a business deal. You can't sell. Not easily because Pine Valley is a registered nonprofit. The property's held in trust. Even though your name's on the deed, you can't just liquidate it without dissolving the organization first. I felt the walls closing in. So we needed another way, Rachel said. A legal way to force the sale. Conservatorship, Helen said. Her voice was acid. Rachel nodded. If we can prove you're not competent to manage your affairs, that you're being taken advantage of making unsound decisions, a judge can appoint someone else to handle your finances temporarily. Temporarily, I repeated, just long enough to dissolve the nonprofit, sell the property. Get you. Rachel paused. Get you settled somewhere safe. Somewhere you can actually enjoy your retirement. Somewhere without us. Olivia said quietly. Rachel didn't answer. I looked at the phone in my hand at the evidence files. The recordings. You were going to use them to prove I'm incompetent. Not just the recordings, Chad said. We needed more. We needed documentation. Proof of unsafe conditions, financial mismanagement code violations. The pieces clicked together. The photos you were taking of the cabins, the hallways. Chad nodded. Peeling paint loose railings, things that look bad in court, things that make it seem like you're not maintaining the property properly. Even though we fixed all that last month, Helen said, Michael repaired every railing himself. Hey, it doesn't matter, Chad said. What matters is what we can prove, what we can show a judge, And the licensing review? I asked. My throat felt tight. The state inspection in 8 days. Rachel's face palled. What about it? I pressed. Rachel swallowed. We filed a complaint anonymous with the state licensing board. The floor dropped out from under me. What kind of complaint? Deborah's voice had gone dangerously quiet. Safety concerns, Chad said. Overcrowding, inadequate supervision, possible financial irregularities. You reported us, Olivia said. To the state. You tried to get our license revoked. We didn't try to get it revoked, Rachel said quickly. We needed to create a paper trail documentation that shows the state had concerns that there were complaints. It strengthens the conservatorship case. Jesus Christ, Helen breathed. I stared at my daughter. You're willing to destroy this place, to destroy these women's lives, to save yourself, to save us. Rachel said, Dad, if we don't pay Dimitri, then you go to the police, I said, and tell them what. Chad's voice rose. That we voluntarily borrowed money from a loan shark. That we gambled it away in Atlantic City. You think they'll protect us? Dimitri has connections. He has lawyers. He's never been convicted of anything. But you've heard the stories, Rachel whispered. You worked with people he hurt. You know what he does. I had heard the stories. Broken bones, burned businesses. People who disappeared. Mrs. Williams, I said quietly, how much did you pay her? Chad's jaw tightened. $2,000 to let us in when you weren't here, to tell us about your routine when the residents were in therapy sessions so you could record them, Deborah said without their consent. We needed evidence of what. Deborah's voice cracked like a whip of trauma of women trying to heal. You were going to use their pain against them, make them look unstable in court. Rachel's face flushed. It's not personal. Not personal. Olivia stepped forward. You called us strays. You sneered at my daughter. You acted like we were garbage. Her voice shook. Was that strategic too, or just honest? Rachel's silence was answer enough. It was strategic, I said slowly. The realization hit like ice water. Every insult, every sneer, you were trying to provoke a reaction. Get the residents angry, unstable on camera. We needed Rachel started. You needed them to look unstable. Helen finished for your recordings for court, so a judge would think they're manipulating Michael, taking advantage of a confused old man. Rachel's chin lifted. You're taking advantage of him. He spent his entire life savings on you people he didn't even know, while his own daughter abandoned him, Olivia said quietly, for 4 years. And now you show up because you need money. I show up because I'm desperate. Rachel's voice broke. Because my husband gambled away everything we had. Because a man is threatening to kill me if we don't pay him back. Because my father is sitting on almost $1 million worth of property and he won't even consider. Won't consider destroying 12 women's lives to save yours, I asked. Won't consider saving his daughter, Rachel whispered. The words hung between us. I looked at her, at the tears streaming down her face, at the desperation and fear and calculation all mixed together. You're my daughter, I said quietly, and I love you, but I can't do this. Dad, these women have nowhere else to go. Sarah is 70. Helen lost everything to an abusive husband. Olivia is 21 with a baby. Where do they go, Rachel? Where do they go when you sell this place out from under them? That's not my problem, it's mine, I said. It's mine because I promised them safety. I promised them a home and I don't break my promises. Rachel's face crumpled. So you'll let me die. I'll help you, I said. I'll give you what I can. I'll call lawyers. I'll go to the police with you. I'll do everything in my power to protect you. But I won't destroy Pine Valley. I won't destroy them. Then you're choosing them over me, Rachel whispered. I'm choosing not to destroy innocent people to save you from your own choices. The words came out harder than I'd intended, but they were true. Chad's phone buzzed. He glanced at it. His face went white. What? Rachel asked. Dimitri Chad said, he's asking for proof. Proof we're making progress. Tell him, Rachel started. What? Chad's voice rose. Tell him what that your father said. That we have no way to get the money. Tell him we're working on it. He doesn't want to hear we're working on it. Chad's voice cracked. He wants results. He wants payment. Or he wants... He stopped, looked at Rachel. Or he wants what I asked quietly. Chad didn't answer. Deborah had been scrolling through the phone through the recording files. She stopped, her face drained of color. Michael, Deborah said. Her voice came out strange, tight. There's more. I turned. More recordings. No. She looked up at me. Her eyes were wide, frightened. Something else hidden in the file folder. What is it? Deborah's hand shook as she turned the phone toward me. The screen showed a document, a legal form, half filled out. Petition for emergency conservatorship, Essex County Court. Petitioner, Rachel Harrison. Respondent, Michael Harrison. Grounds, mental incompetence, financial exploitation, unsafe living conditions. Below it, another document, purchase and sale. Agreement seller Michael Harrison as conserved party buyer. Summit Ridge Development, LLC. Purchase price $900,000, closing date blank. And below that, a contact list. Sheriff Tom Brennan, Essex County, Judge Patricia Moreno, Essex County Court Doctor. Richard Watts, court-appointed psychiatrist. Eastman and Cole, law conservatorship specialists. And at the bottom, Mrs. Ellen Williams' neighbor, I'm our witness. $2,000 paid. Additional witnesses needed 2 to 3 residents willing to testify re Michael's declining mental state. Payment negotiable. My vision blurred. They weren't just planning to petition for conservatorship. They were trying to buy witnesses. Deborah's hand trembled as she turned the phone toward me. Michael, she whispered. They were going to bribe our residents to testify against you. Deborah's finger scrolled down past the legal documents to a text message thread. There is more, she said quietly. Meets between Chad and Mrs. Williams. She turned the phone toward me. The thread went back weeks. Dozens of messages. Mrs. Williams got the 2 Ks. Thanks, hun. Old man took the bait. Chad, perfect. Keep feeding us his schedule. When he goes to town, when residents are in therapy, Mrs. Williams, easy money. He trusts me. Never suspects a thing. My hands went cold. She's been spying on you. Helen said, her voice shook with rage. For weeks, Deborah scrolled further. Chad, we need the anonymous complaint filed by Friday. Can you call it in, Mrs. Williams? What do I say, Chad? Elderly woman at risk? Child in dangerous conditions? Say you're a concerned neighbor. They'll have to investigate. Mrs. Williams and the Sheriff Chad, I'll handle him. Just plant the seed. Say you've seen strange things. People coming and going at odd hours. I felt sick. She called the sheriff, Olivia said softly. She's been telling people what that were dangerous, that Michael's being taken advantage of. Deborah said that the residents are. She stopped. Her voice broke. Unstable, manipulative. Rachel's face had gone gray. Chad. You said Mrs. Williams was just helping with access? She was helping with everything, Chad said flatly. She's the one who told us about the licensing review. She's the one who suggested the anonymous complaint. Jesus, Rachel whispered. My phone rang. Everyone froze. I looked at the screen. Sheriff Tom Brennan, Essex County. My stomach dropped. Answer it, Helen said. Put it on speaker. I did. Michael. Tom's voice came through familiar but formal. Sorry to call on a Saturday evening, but I need to talk to you about something. What is it, Tom? We received some complaints anonymous about Pine Valley. He paused about conditions there. Allegations of elderly residents at risk a young child in potentially unsafe housing. I closed my eyes. When did you receive these complaints? First one came in Thursday. Another one yesterday. Caller said they were a concerned neighbor. Tom's voice softened. Michael, I know you. I know what you're doing up there is good work. But when we get complaints about vulnerable populations, especially children, we have to follow up. I understand. I'm going to need to come by Monday morning just to look around. Make sure everything's above board. You know how it is. I know how it is, I said quietly. Is now a bad time? Tom asked. You sound? Tom, I need to tell you something. I looked at Rachel at Chad. The complaints you received, they're not from a concerned neighbor. They're part of I stopped. The word stuck in my throat. A scheme to force me to sell this property. Silence on the other end. Say that again. Tom's voice had changed, gone sharp. My daughter and her husband are here. They owe money to a loan shark. $95,000. They need to pay it back in 38 days, or I swallowed, or there will be consequences. What kind of consequences? Violent ones. I heard Tom's chair creak. Go on. They found a buyer for Pine Valley. $900,000. But they can't force me to sell because it's a nonprofit. So the words came out mechanical distant, recording me without my consent, taking photos, building a case for conservatorship. They filed the anonymous complaints. They paid my neighbor to spy on me and call you. Jesus Christ, Michael. I have evidence recordings, text messages, legal documents, all on a phone they left behind. Michael, Rachel's voice cracked. Don't. I held up a hand, kept talking. They were planning to bribe residents to testify against me, to say I'm incompetent, that I'm being manipulated. My voice stayed level calm. They were going to destroy this place, destroy these women's lives to pay off their gambling debts. The silence stretched. I could hear Tom breathing. Michael, he said finally, are your daughter and her husband still there? Yes. Don't let them leave. I'm coming over now. Tom. Michael, what they've done? Recording without consent. Filing false reports, conspiracy to commit fraud. These are crimes, serious ones, I know. I'll be there in 20 minutes. Keep them there. The line went dead. I lowered the phone, looked at Rachel. Her face had gone bone white. You called the police on us, she whispered. On your own daughter. You filed false reports, I said quietly. You tried to frame me as incompetent. You were going to bribe people to lie in court. To save my life. Rachel's voice rose cracked. Dad, don't you understand? This isn't some game. This isn't about pride or principle. Dimitri is going to kill us. Then you should have gone to the police weeks ago and tell them what Chad's voice was. Wild, now desperate, that we borrowed money from a criminal and gambled it away. You think they'll protect us? They'll do more than I can. I said, you could do everything. Rachel's voice broke wide open, raw pleading. You could sell this place. Pay off Dimitri. Save us. You're choosing them over your own daughter. I'm choosing not to destroy innocent people. I'm innocent, Rachel screamed. I didn't ask for this. I didn't know Chad was gambling. I didn't know about Dimitri. Her voice dissolved into sobs. I just wanted to save my marriage. I wanted to believe we could fix this. And now she sank onto the couch, buried her face in her hands. Real tears this time. Not strategic, not manipulative, just broken. Dad, please. Her voice came out muffled, small. I'm begging you. They're going to kill us. In 38 days, we'll be dead. I just need. She looked up, and her face was destroyed makeup. Eyes swollen. I just need enough to survive, that's all. Just enough to live. My chest felt like it was caving in. Rachel, we're family, she whispered. Doesn't that mean anything to you? I looked at her, at my daughter, the little girl I'd raised. The woman I barely recognized. Yes, I said quietly. It means everything, but it doesn't mean I'll destroy 12 other people to save you from your own choices. Rachel's face crumpled. Chad's phone buzzed again. He pulled it out with shaking hands, looked at the screen. It's Dimitri, he said. His voice was hollow. He wants proof by tomorrow. Proof we have the money coming. Or he stopped. Or what Helen asked. Chad's hand trembled as he showed us the screen a photo of Rachel walking into a coffee shop, taken today from across the street with a caption 38 days. I couldn't speak. My throat had closed. The photo of Rachel, taken today, stalked, marked, burned in my mind. 38 days. Rachel sat on the couch, face in her hands, shoulders shaking. Chad stood beside her phone, still in his hand, face gray. Michael. Olivia's voice cut through the silence, quiet, steady. I turned. She stood in the doorway, arms crossed. She looked at Rachel, then at me. Can I say something? Olivia asked. Olivia, you don't have to. Yes, I do. She stepped forward, looked at Rachel. You called me a charity case. You said your dad collects strays. Rachel didn't look up. You're right, Olivia said quietly. I was 19 pregnant. My boyfriend broke my jaw because I wanted to keep the baby. My parents said I'd made my bed. I could lie in it. The room went still. I lived in my car for 3 weeks in February Adirondack winter. I woke up one morning and couldn't feel my hands. I didn't know it, but I was hypothermic, 34 weeks pregnant, and slowly freezing to death. Rachel lifted her head. Her eyes were red, but she was listening. Michael found me in a parking lot behind a grocery store unconscious. He called an ambulance, rode with me to the hospital. When I woke up, Olivia's voice cracked. He was still there holding my hand. This stranger who didn't owe me anything. Olivia, I started. They told me I was lucky to be alive. That the baby was lucky. If he'd found me 20 minutes later, we'd both be dead. Silence. He brought me here, gave me a room, helped me get on Medicaid, found me a lawyer. He was there when Chloe was born. Held my hand through 18 hours of labor because I had no one else. Olivia's eyes were bright, but no tears fell. You called me a charity case, she said. But your dad saw me as someone worth saving, not someone to use, someone worth his life. She took a breath. I'm 3 months from graduating nursing school. Job offer at Adirondack Health. $42 an hour, benefits, a future because of him. She pointed at me. Because he didn't give up on me. That's good. Rachel's voice came out hoarse. But I'll be sending patients here, Olivia continued. Women like me. Women with nowhere else to go because Pine Valley saved my life. Helen stepped forward from the hallway. My turn, Helen said. Her voice was hard. Helen, I started. Oh, I absolutely do. Helen looked at Rachel. You want to talk about family blood? I've got 5 children. 5? Raised them. Worked 40 years as a nurse to give them good lives. Rachel's jaw tightened. When my husband died, he left me debt. Thousands in gambling debts I didn't know about. My kids, my blood, they stole my pension. 40 years of savings gone. When I asked for help, they said I'd made bad financial decisions that I needed to learn responsibility. Her voice went flat. I was 68 years old, worked since I was 16. My own children threw me away like garbage. I saw Rachel flinch. I ended up in a state nursing home, the kind that smells like disinfectant and despair. I lasted 3 weeks before I tried to kill myself. Jesus, Chad whispered. Michael found me after the attempt through a social worker friend came to visit me in the psych ward. This man I'd never met. He said, Helen's voice broke. You deserve better. Come home with me. She turned to me. Her eyes were wet. Blood doesn't make family, Helen said. Love does. Care does. Showing up does. Michael shows up every day. That's family. Deborah stepped forward. The principal posture, 20 years. Deborah said I was married for 20 years. High school principal, respected, accomplished. My husband spent every day telling me I was worthless, stupid, crazy. Rachel looked up. By the time I left, I believed him. Couldn't remember who I was, that I had a master's degree, that I'd run a school of 800 students, that I was a person. Her voice steadied. Michael didn't just give me a place to stay, he gave me myself back. He asked my opinion, listened, treated me like I mattered. Deborah's eyes fixed on Rachel. You want to destroy this for money? Women will die. Not metaphorically, actually die. Because there's nowhere else like this. The silence that followed was absolute. Rachel stared at the three women, at their faces, at the pain and strength written in every line. For a moment, just a moment, I saw something flicker. Shame, recognition. But then Chad's hand tightened on hers. He leaned close, whispered, "Don't let them manipulate you." Rachel's face hardened. She turned to me. "They're survivors," she said. Her voice had gone cold. "And I'm about to become a corpse. Who matters more, Dad, strangers or your daughter?" The question hung in the air. I looked at Rachel, at the woman I'd raised, the daughter I loved. "You matter," I said quietly. "You'll always matter." "But so do they." "That's not an answer. It's the only answer I have." Rachel's breath hitched. "So you're choosing them. I'm choosing not to destroy them to save you." "That's the same thing." "No, I said it's not." Rachel stood, her whole body shaking. "You're going to let me die. You're going to sit here with your charity cases and your chosen family, and you're going to let your daughter be murdered. That's your choice." I felt something break inside me. "I will give you every dollar I have," I said. "Every dollar that doesn't come from selling this place. I will go to the police with you, hire lawyers, do everything in my power to protect you. But I will not destroy 12 women's lives to save you from your husband's gambling debts." Rachel's face crumpled. "It's not enough. I know. They're going to kill me." "And then we go to the police. Tom's coming. We tell him everything about Dimitri, the threats. He'll do nothing," Rachel screamed. "Dimitri has lawyers. He's never been convicted. He'll deny everything. And in 38 days, I'll be dead, and you'll still be here with your real family." She spat the last words like poison. Chad pulled her toward the door. "We're leaving." Tom said not to. I started. "We're leaving," Chad repeated. "You called the cops on us. You chose strangers over blood. We're done." "Rachel," I reached for her. She jerked away. "Don't touch me." Her eyes met mine. Empty. Hollow. "You're not my father," she whispered. "Not anymore." The words hit like bullets. She turned, walked toward the door, and stopped. Because Olivia was standing in her way, arms crossed, face set. "You're not leaving," Olivia said quietly. "The sheriff's on his way, and you don't get to run from this." Rachel stared at her, then at me. "Fine," Rachel said. Her voice went flat, "Dad. We'll stay. We'll talk to the sheriff. We'll tell him everything." She stepped closer to me. "And when Dimitri kills me in 38 days, I hope you remember this moment. I hope you remember that you chose them over me." Her hand moved to her purse, pulled out her phone. "What are you doing?" I asked. Rachel's fingers flew across the screen, typing. "Texting Dimitri," she said. Her voice was hollow. "Telling him there's no money coming, that we failed. Rachel, don't." She hit send. The message went through. 3 dots appeared immediately. Someone typing back. Rachel's phone buzzed. She looked at the screen. Her face went white. "What does it say?" Chad whispered. Rachel turned the phone toward us. "One word, soon." The question hung in the air like smoke. Who matters more, strangers or your daughter? I couldn't move, couldn't think. The phone in Rachel's hand showed Dimitri's message. "Soon," and I felt the walls closing in. One word, 4 letters, a death sentence. I looked at Rachel, at her tear-streaked face, at the terror in her eyes. Real terror, not manipulation, not strategy, just pure animal fear. My daughter was going to die unless I sold Pine Valley. The trolley problem, philosophy 101. One person on one track, 12 on the other. Pull the lever or don't. Someone dies either way. Except this wasn't philosophy. This was my daughter. I looked at Olivia, 21 years old. I remembered finding her in that parking lot. Blue lips frost in her hair, 34 weeks pregnant and dying. I remembered holding her hand in the delivery room. Remembered the first time Chloe called me Grandpa. I looked at Helen, 68 years old. I remembered visiting her in the psych ward, the bandages on her wrists, the emptiness in her eyes, the suicide note tucked under her pillow that the nurses hadn't found yet. I looked at Deborah, 50 years old. I remember the day she arrived. How she couldn't make eye contact, couldn't speak above a whisper. How she flinched when I moved too fast. How she'd spent 20 years being told she was worthless until she believed it. 12 women, 12 lives, one daughter. The math didn't work. Couldn't work. Dad. Rachel's voice broke through. Please, I'm begging you. She sank to her knees, not strategic, not calculated, just broken. I'm your daughter, she whispered. Doesn't that mean anything? These women, they'll find other shelters, other places. But you only have one daughter, one. And I need you right now today. Her hands clasped together. Actual prayer position. I know what I did was wrong, she said. The words came out in gasps. I know. The recordings, the lies, the conservatorship plan, all of it. It was desperate and stupid and wrong. But Dad, her voice cracked. I'm still your little girl. I'm still the person you raised, the person you loved. Doesn't that count for something? I felt my chest caving in. Please, Rachel whispered, don't let me die. Chad stepped forward. His voice had gone clinical businesslike. Look at the math, sir, he said. $900,000 for the property. You paid $520. That's $380,000 in equity. Give us $200. Keep $180 for yourself. Use it to relocate these women, set them up somewhere else. Everyone wins. Everyone wins. I repeated. The words tasted like ash. Yes. Chad's voice gained confidence. Rachel lives. You keep money. The women get help. It's the logical solution. Logical. I looked at the residents, at Olivia, Hel, and Deborah, at the faces watching from the kitchen doorway. The other women who called this place home, they weren't pressuring me, weren't saying anything, just standing there waiting. I saw it in their faces, understanding fear and something else, resignation. They had already made peace with it, with being chosen against, with being the acceptable loss. That resignation destroyed me. Michael, Helen's voice was soft. It's okay. No, I started, it's okay, she repeated. We understand. She's your daughter. She stopped, swallowed. We're just people you helped. It's not the same. Helen will figure it out, Olivia said. Her voice was steady, but I could hear the tremor underneath. We always do right. She looked at the other women. They nodded. 4 smiles. Liars, all of them, trying to make this easier for me. Where will you go? I asked quietly. Silence. Where I pressed. State facilities. The ones that are full. The ones with 6-month waiting lists. The ones that don't take children. Olivia's arms tightened around herself. Or the streets. I continued. Back to cars. Back to abusers. Back to Dad. Stop. Rachel's voice rose. You're making it worse than it is. These women are resourceful. They survived before you. They'll survive after. Will they? I looked at Helen. Will you survive going back to that nursing home? Helen's face went pale. And you? I turned to Deborah. Where will you go back to your husband, the one who spent 20 years convincing you you're worthless? Deborah's hands started shaking. "Stop it," Rachel said. "Stop guilting yourself. Stop making this impossible." "It is impossible," I said. "No, it's not." Chad stepped forward. "It's simple. One life or 12. But here's the thing. So Rachel is your life. These women, they're not. You owe them compassion, kindness, help, but you don't owe them your daughter's life." The words made sense. Cold, brutal sense. $200,000. Chad said that. That's all we're asking. 200 out of 900. You keep 700. Surely that's enough to what my voice came out harder than I'd intended. To relocate 12 women, find them new housing, new support systems, new communities. You think 700,000 covers that? It's more than most people get. It's not about the money. The words tore out of me. It's about destroying what we built, what they built. Pine Valley isn't just housing, it's family, it's healing, I stopped, looked at the women, it's home. Rachel's face was wet with tears. "And what am I, Dad? What am I to you?" "You're my daughter," I said, quietly. "You're everything." Hope flared in her eyes. "But so are they," I continued. "They're my family too. And I can't choose one family over another." "That's not an answer," Rachel screamed. "You have to choose. Dimitri doesn't care about philosophy or fairness or your moral dilemma. He cares about money. And if he doesn't get it, I die. So choose Dad right now, me or them." I looked at her, at my daughter on her knees, at the women standing silent in the doorway. 12 faces, 12 lives, 12 futures. One daughter? The math didn't work. "Rachel," I said. My voice didn't sound like mine anymore. "Stand up." She stood, hope blazing in her eyes. I forced the words out. They felt like broken glass in my throat. "I love you," I said. "I will always love you. Nothing changes that." Her face started to brighten. I held up my hand. "But I can't destroy these women's lives to save yours." The hope died, snuffed out like a candle. Rachel stared at me. "What, I can't do it," I said. "I will give you every dollar I have that doesn't come from Pine Valley. I will go to the police. I will hire lawyers. I will do everything except sell this place." Rachel's voice came out strangled. "You're choosing them." "I'm choosing not to destroy innocent people." "I'm innocent." Rachel's voice cracked. "I didn't ask for this. I didn't gamble. I didn't borrow from Dimitri. I'm just the collateral for my husband's mistakes." "And she couldn't finish." Chad's face had gone white. "You're sentencing her to death." "No," I said quietly. "Dimitri is, and you are, by borrowing from him, by gambling, by coming here with recordings and lies, instead of just asking for help." "We're asking now," Rachel whispered. "We're asking, and you're saying no. Now I'm saying I can't save you by destroying them." Rachel's legs gave out. She sank back to her knees, and I heard gravel crunching outside. Headlights swept through the windows. Sheriff Tom Brennan had arrived. The decision was made. Now I had to live with it. Rachel stared at me from the floor. Chad stood frozen. The residents watched from the doorway. I had to explain why I just sentenced my daughter to death. "Rachel," I said, my voice shook. "Stand up." She didn't move. "Stand up." Slowly she rose. Her legs trembled. Her mascara ran in black rivers down her face. "I spent 37 years protecting people," I said. "Women fleeing violence, children in danger. It's what I do. It's who I am, and I can't stop now, not even for you. But I'm your daughter, and they're under my protection." I said, "If I betray them, if I destroy their home, I betray everything I've ever stood for." Rachel's face twisted. "So your principles matter more than my life. I can't save your life by destroying theirs." "Then what?" Her voice rose. "What am I supposed to do? I'll give you what I have." I said, $8,000, my savings. It's not much, but $8,000. Rachel's voice went shrill. We owe 95. I mean, $8,000 doesn't even cover the interest. Then we go to the police, to the FBI, witness protection, gambling, addiction counseling. I'll help you negotiate with Dimitri. Negotiate, Rachel screamed. In 38 days, I'll be dead. Then what do you want me to do? My voice rose to match hers. Tell me, Rachel, what exactly do you want? I want you to save me. Her voice broke. I want you to be my father. I want you to choose your daughter over strangers. They're not strangers. They're not your blood. Rachel's face was purple, swollen, destroyed. They're charity cases, projects. But I'm your actual family, your actual child, and you're choosing them. I felt something harden in my chest, something cold and final. Yes, I said quietly. I am. Rachel's mouth opened, closed. No sound came out. I'm choosing right over wrong, I said. I'm choosing to protect 12 innocent women over saving you from consequences you helped create. I didn't create this. You married him. I pointed at Chad. You stayed with him when the gambling started. You borrowed from a loan shark. You came here with recordings and lies instead of just calling me. You made choices, Rachel. Choices have consequences, so this is my consequence. Her voice went hollow. Death. Maybe I said. Or maybe you'll find another way. Maybe the police will help. Maybe Dimitri will negotiate, but I won't destroy them to save you. You're killing me. You're my father, and you're killing me. No, I said, I'm refusing to kill them to save you. That's not the same thing, I stepped back. You need to leave, I said. Now. Rachel stared. What? Get out, I said. The sheriff's coming. You can talk to him or run. But either way, leave Pine Valley. You're throwing us out. Chad's voice rose. After everything, after you recorded us without consent, filed false reports, tried to bribe witnesses, planned to steal this property through fraud. My voice went hard. Yes. Get out. Chad's face went red. When they find Rachel's body in a ditch somewhere, that's on you. Her blood is on your hands. No, I said her blood is on yours. You gambled. You borrowed from Dimitri. You brought her into this. I'm trying to save her by destroying 12 other women, I said. That's not saving. And you're choosing wrong. Chad's voice cracked. You're choosing strangers over your daughter. I'm choosing not to murder people to save her. The word hung in the air, murder. Because that's what it was. Destroying Pine Valley would kill some of them. I knew it. They knew it. Rachel knew it too. I saw it in her eyes. Chad. Her voice came out small. We should go. No, we should go. Rachel turned to him. He's not going to change his mind. Rachel, he chose. Her voice was dead. He chose them over me, so let's go. Chad's jaw clenched. He looked at me. Something dark flickered across his face. Fine, he said. We'll go. But when Dimitri comes for us, and we'll tell him where to find you. We'll tell him all about Pine Valley, about how these women are the reason we couldn't pay. My blood went cold. That's a threat, I said quietly. That's a promise, Chad said. Dimitri wants his money. If he can't get it from us, maybe he'll get it from you. This place is worth $900,000. I'm sure he'd be interested. That's terrorism, Deborah said. Her voice was ice. That's survival, Chad said. He turned to Rachel. Come on. They moved toward the door. I pulled out my phone. Tom? I said when he answered. They're threatening the residents. Threatening to send a loan shark after them. Michael, I'm 2 minutes away. They're leaving now. Don't let them. How they're not under arrest. They will be, Tom said. Conspiracy to commit fraud. Filing false reports. Terroristic threats. Keep them there. I lowered the phone. Rachel had stopped at the door looking at me. When they kill us, she whispered. I hope you remember this. I hope you remember that you chose them over me. Sirens wailed in the distance, getting closer. Red and blue lights flickered through the trees, sweeping across the walls, across Rachel's destroyed face. She looked younger in that light, smaller like the little girl I'd raised. "I was your daughter," she said. "I was your little girl and you let me go." The words hit like bullets. "Yes," I said. My voice broke. "I did." I met her eyes, forced myself to stay steady. "I love you," I said. "I will always love you, but I won't destroy innocent people to save you, not even you." Rachel stared at me, mascara running face destroyed. "Then I hope you can live with that," she whispered. The sheriff's car pulled into the driveway, lights flashing, siren cutting off. Tom got out, hand on his weapon. "Michael Harrison." Tom called. "Everyone okay in there?" "We're fine," I called back. Rachel looked at me one last time. "When they kill us," she said, her voice barely audible, "you'll live knowing you chose them instead of me." I looked straight into her eyes, forced my voice to stay steady even as something inside me shattered. "Then I'll live with that," I said. "But I won't live with their blood on my hands." Tom appeared in the doorway behind Rachel and Chad. His hand was still on his weapon. His face was grim. "Rachel Harrison," he said. "Chad Westwood. I need you both to stay right where you are." Rachel's eyes never left mine. "Goodbye, Dad," she whispered, and I saw it. The moment she stopped being my daughter, the moment the bond between us severed, clean, final. "Goodbye, Rachel," I said. Tom stepped forward. "I need you both to come with me. We have some questions about false police reports and conspiracy to commit fraud." Chad's face went white. "We want a lawyer." "That's your right," Tom said. "But you're coming to the station either way." He looked at me. "Michael, you okay?" I nodded, couldn't speak. Rachel turned away, walked out the door between Tom and his deputy. Chad followed, phone already out, probably calling a lawyer. The red and blue lights swept across the room one more time. And then they were gone. Sheriff Tom Brennan stood in my living room, notebook in hand, taking it all in. The residents clustered in the kitchen doorway. Rachel sat on the couch, face buried in her hands. Chad paced near the window phone, pressed to his ear, speaking to a lawyer. Tom looked at me. "Walk me through it." I did. The recordings, the texts with Mrs. Williams, the conservatorship petition, the false police reports, the terroristic threat. Tom's face got harder with every sentence. When I finished, he pulled me aside. "Michael," he said quietly, "this is complicated. She's your daughter." "She threatened the residents," I said. My voice came out flat. "That's all that matters." Tom nodded slowly. "All right then." He walked to Chad. "Mr. Westwood, I'm placing you under arrest for filing false police reports, conspiracy to commit fraud, and making terroristic threats." Chad spun around. "Well, you have the right to remain silent." This is Chad's voice, rose. "You told Mr. Harrison you'd give his address to a known loan shark. Tom said that's a terroristic threat. Turn around." Tom cuffed Chad. "Read him his rights." "What about her?" Chad jerked his chin toward Rachel. Tom looked at Rachel. "Miss Harrison, you'll need to come to the station tomorrow morning, 9:00 a.m. We'll take your statement and determine charges." "Charges?" Rachel's voice came out hoarse arrow. "Filing false reports is a crime," Tom said. "So is conspiracy. We'll sort it out tomorrow." He turned to his deputy. "Restraining order. 500F Miss Harrison and Mr. Westwood are not to come within 500F of Pine Valley or any of its residents." Tom escorted Chad toward the door. Chad twisted in his grip, face purple. "You think this is over?" Chad shouted at me. "When Dimitri comes for us, we'll tell him everything about this place, about the women here." "Keep talking," Tom said. "You're just adding charges." He pushed Chad out. The deputy followed with Rachel. She stopped at the threshold, looked back. "Dad," she whispered, Please don't do this. I couldn't answer, couldn't breathe. Please, she said again. Her voice broke. Ma'am, the deputy said gently, we need to go. Rachel's face crumpled. You're really choosing them over me. I'm choosing what's right, I said. What's right? Rachel's laugh was bitter. What's right is protecting your daughter. Ma'am, the deputy's voice was firmer. Let's go. Rachel looked at me one last time. I'll never forgive you for this, she whispered. I know, I said. The deputy let her out. The door closed, and I stood there frozen. Tom put a hand on my shoulder. Michael, you okay? My legs gave out. Tom caught me, lowered me to the floor. I heard voices. Olivia, Helen, Deborah. Hands on my shoulders, someone pressing water into my hands. But I couldn't move, couldn't think. My daughter was gone. The shaking started in my hands, spread to my arms, my chest, my whole body trembling. It's okay. Olivia's voice soft. It's okay, Michael. We're here. But it wasn't okay. I just destroyed my daughter to save them. Hours later, I sat at the kitchen table. The residents had tried to get me to eat. I couldn't. Tom had left. Said he'd be back tomorrow for statements. Said Chad was being held on $50,000 bail. Said Rachel had gone to a hotel. Said the restraining order was in effect. Olivia sat down across from me. She put something on the table. An envelope. What's this? My voice sounded rough. Open it. I did. Cash, 20s. 10 fives, singles, all crumpled. I counted it. $1,247. Where did this come from, all of us? Olivia said. Everyone here. It's everything we have saved. Helen's been putting aside money from Social Security. Deborah's been saving from her library job. I've been working weekends at the diner. I stared at the money. Why for Rachel? Olivia said quietly. We know it won't save her. We know it's not enough, but we know what it's like to be desperate, to have nowhere to turn. My throat closed. We can't let you destroy Pine Valley, Olivia continued. But we can give this. It's all we have. Tell her we're sorry, that we understand. I looked at the money, at the crumpled bills from women who had nothing. I can't take this, I said. Yes, you can, Helen said from the doorway, because we're family and family helps each other. Deborah stepped forward, put her hand on my shoulder. We know what you gave up tonight. We won't forget it. I pulled out my phone, called Rachel's number straight to voicemail. Rachel, I said, my voice shook. It's Dad. The residents collected money for you. $1, $200. Everything they have. They wanted you to know they understand. The voicemail cut off. I tried again. Rachel, please call me back. There has to be another way. Cut off. I texted her. The women at Pine Valley collected $147 for you. Everything they have, they want to help. Please call me. The response came 2 minutes later. Don't want charity from your strays. I want what I'm owed. What should have been my inheritance. You made your choice. Live with it. I stared at the message. Olivia read it over my shoulder. Her face fell. I'm sorry, she whispered. I know, I said. I put the money back in the envelope into my pocket. Maybe tomorrow Rachel would change her mind. Maybe. But I didn't believe it. That night I didn't sleep. I sat by the window in my room watching the driveway, watching the dark trees, watching for headlights, watching for Dimitri's men because Chad had made the threat. And men like Dimitri didn't make empty threats. Somewhere out there, Rachel and Chad were running out of time. 38 days less, now 37, and somewhere out there, Dimitri was waiting. I'd made my choice chosen, 12 lives over one chosen principle over blood. But sitting there in the dark, watching for violence that might never come, or might come tomorrow, I didn't feel righteous, I felt broken. Morning came, gray and cold. November settling into the mountains, nothing had happened, no headlights in the night, no violence, no Dimitri, As I watched the sun rise over Pine Valley, over the cabins where 12 women slept safe for now, I knew one thing with absolute certainty. This wasn't over. The real consequences were still coming. And when Dmitri finally made his move, we'd all pay the price. I just didn't know how much yet. Sunday morning came too fast. I hadn't slept, hadn't changed clothes. I sat at the kitchen table with cold coffee and a list that kept growing. Security cameras, lawyer FBI tip line emergency protocols. The licensing review was in 8 days. Dimitri's deadline was in 37. And somewhere between those two numbers, my life had to keep moving. Michael. Deborah's voice cut through my fog. She stood in the doorway, already dressed, hair pulled back. Principal mode. We need to make a plan. I looked up. I know. Then let's make it. By noon, Pine Valley looked different. A security company van sat in the driveway. 2 techs were installing cameras. One at the main entrance, one covering the driveway, 2 more covering the cabin area. Motion-activated lights, a panic button system wired to the sheriff's office. Emergency rate, the lead tech said. $500 for the full setup, but you need this. I didn't have $500, but I nodded anyway. Put it on the credit card that was already stretched thin. Deborah sat at the dining table with her laptop, pulling up lawyers, civil rights attorneys, nonprofit specialists, people who could defend Pine Valley if Rachel's conservatorship petition ever made it to court. Found one, she said. Margaret Brown. She's handled 3 conservatorship defense cases, won all 3. She'll take a consult Monday morning. How much? I asked. $300 an hour. I closed my eyes. Did the math? Didn't like it. Do it, I said. Helen stood in the common room with the other residents, teaching them basics. Where to run if someone showed up, how to lock the cabin doors from inside, who to call, what to say. If you see a strange car, Helen was saying, you get inside, you lock the door, you call 911 first, then you call Michael. You don't open the door for anyone you don't know. Not deliveries, not salesmen, no one. The women nodded. Some looked scared. Some looked determined. All of them looked like they'd done this before. Olivia came out of the clinic room, the small office we used for first aid, with a duffel bag full of medical supplies, bandages, antiseptic trauma scissors, a blood pressure cuff. Worst case scenario, she said, if someone gets hurt and we can't get to the hospital fast enough. I didn't want to think about worst case scenarios, but I nodded. I'm also calling the FBI. Olivia said, anonymous tip about Dmitry Vulov. Loan sharking extortion violence. Maybe they're already investigating. Maybe this helps. Do it, I said. She pulled out her phone, walked into the other room. I sat down, put my head in my hands. Michael, Helen's hand on my shoulder. You need to eat. I'm not hungry. I didn't ask if you were hungry. She put a sandwich in front of me. Turkey, cheese, lettuce. Simple. I took a bite. Tasted like cardboard. Swallowed. Anyway, we're going to be okay, Helen said. We've survived worse. Have you? I asked. Have you survived the Russian mob coming after you? Helen's jaw set. No, but I've survived my own children stealing everything I had. I've survived wanting to die. This, she gestured around. This will survive together. Monday morning, I sat in Tom's office at the sheriff's station. Update, Tom said. He flipped through a file. Chad Westwood was arraigned Saturday. Bail set at $50,000. He can't post it. He's still in county lockup. And Rachel, we questioned her yesterday. She lawyered up fast. Claimed she was coerced. That Chad manipulated her. That she didn't know about the recordings or the conservatorship plan until it was too late. That's, I said. Probably. Tom agreed. But it's hard to prove. The recordings are on Chad's phone. The texts with Mrs. Williams are from Chad's number. Rachel's fingerprints are on the conservatorship petition, but she can claim Chad filled it out and she just signed it. So she walks, not walks, Tom said. But she might get a deal. Misdemeanor filing a false report. Probation Community Service. I stared at him. She tried to destroy Pine Valley. I know Tom said, but she's got a good lawyer, and she's playing the victim card hard. My husband has a gambling problem. I was desperate. I didn't know what else to do. What about Mrs. Williams singing like a canary, Tom said. Admitted everything. Chad paid her $2,000 to spy on you, to let them into the property to file the anonymous complaints. She's cooperating in exchange for reduced charges. Good, I said. Tom leaned back. Michael, I have to ask, are you sure about this pressing charges against your own daughter? She threatened my residence, I said. She tried to steal their home. Yes, I'm sure. Tom nodded. All right, we'll proceed. The week crawled by. No sign of Dimitri, no strange cars, no threats, just the waiting. Security cameras recorded everything. Motion lights flickered on every time a deer crossed the driveway. I checked the feeds obsessively every hour, every 30 minutes. The residents went about their lives, therapy, garden work, cooking, studying, but I saw it in their faces, the tension, the fear. We were all waiting for the other shoe to drop. Friday came licensing review tomorrow morning at 9 Dodro. I sat on the porch that evening, watching the sun set over the mountains. 12 women, inside 12 lives, depending on me to get this right. And somewhere out there, Rachel, with 37 days left. I'd chosen made the impossible call. But sitting there in the fading light, I didn't feel righteous. I just felt tired. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me. Hello? Silence. Then a voice. Low-accented Russian. Michael Harrison. My blood went cold. We should talk. The voice continued about your daughter and her debt. I didn't answer. 37 days, the voice said. Not much time. You could make this easier for everyone. Who is this? I asked, even though I knew. You know who this is? A pause. I'm a reasonable man, Mr. Harrison. I don't want trouble. I just want what I'm owed. I can't help you. I said can't. The voice sounded almost amused. Or won't both. Silence. Then that's unfortunate for your daughter. If you hurt her, I said, you'll what? The voice cut in. Call the police. They can't protect her. No one can except you. I'm not selling Pine Valley. Then you're choosing to let her die. The voice stayed calm, conversational. Interesting choice for a father. The line went dead. I sat there, phone in my hand, heart pounding. Then I did 3 things. First, screenshot the call log. Unknown number. Duration 2 minutes 14 seconds. Second, forward it to text. Dimitri called me, threatening Rachel. Recording attached if you need it. Third, forward it to the FBI tip line Olivia had found. Let the law handle Dimitri. I had a licensing review to pass. Saturday morning, 9:00 a.m. The state inspector arrived, clipboard camera, serious expression. She spent 4 hours going through everything. Fire exits, safety equipment, resident files, financial records, kitchen cabins, medical supplies. The residents were perfect, polite, calm, confident. Olivia showed her the therapy schedule. Helen showed her the garden and the financial literacy program. Deborah walked her through the educational resources. At 1:00 p.m., the inspector sat down with me. Mr. Harrison, she said, I've seen a lot of facilities, state-run, private, nonprofit. Most of them are, she paused, adequate. They meet minimum standards. They keep people alive. My stomach dropped. Freeps Pine Valley, she continued, is exceptional. The care you provide here, the community you've built, the outcomes I'm seeing, women getting jobs, going back to school, rebuilding their lives, it's exactly what these programs should be. I couldn't breathe. You're approved, she said. Exemplary care rating. I'll be recommending you for additional state funding. You should hear back in 6 to 8 weeks. I sat there stunned. Thank you. I managed. She packed up her clipboard. Keep doing what you're doing, Mr. Harrison. The world needs more places like this. Life went on. Days turned into weeks. No attack from Dmitri, no violence, just the cameras, the locked doors, the constant vigilance. I checked the security feeds every night, every single night for 6 months. And then one morning, Olivia came running into the kitchen with her phone. "Michael," she said. "Look, she showed me the screen. A news article. FBI arrests major loan shark and multi-state racketeering case. Dmitry Vulov, 48, was arrested yesterday in a coordinated FBI operation. I read it twice, 3 times. He's in custody," Olivia said. "They dismantled his whole operation." I sat down, legs weak. "Did our tip help?" Olivia asked. "I don't know," I said. Maybe they were already investigating. Does it matter?" I looked at her, at this 21-year-old woman who'd almost frozen to death in a parking lot, who was now 3 months from her nursing degree. "No," I said, "it doesn't matter. Dmitri was in prison. Rachel was safe. And Pine Valley was still standing." 2 years later, I woke to laughter. Not the careful, quiet laughter of women who'd learned to make themselves small. Real laughter, bright and unguarded. Chloe's voice drifted through my window again. "Again, Miss Helen?" I was 61 now, 2 years older, a lifetime wiser. I got up, walked to the window, looked out at Pine Valley. It didn't look the same. Where there had been 6 cabins, now there were 12. The old ones renovated 6 new ones built with the state funding that came through 8 months after the licensing review. A community building stood where the empty lot used to be. Meeting rooms, a library, a play area for kids. The garden had tripled in size. 2 acres now. Rows of vegetables. A greenhouse, solar panels on the roof of the main house, security cameras, on every building, motion lights. But nobody jumped at shadows anymore. The licensing came through permanent 18 months ago. State funding, $285,000 a year, enough to pay Helen and Deborah small salaries. Enough to hire a part-time therapist, enough to keep the lights on and the pantry full. We had a waiting list now. 3 to 4 months, women calling from all over upstate New York, referrals from hospitals, police departments, social workers. Pine Valley had survived, and somehow so had I. I walked downstairs. The smell of coffee hit me first, then bacon. Olivia stood at the stove, spatula in hand. She'd graduated nursing school almost 2 years ago, worked at Adirondacks Health now, made $42 an hour just like she'd said, had her own apartment in Lake Placid, came back every weekend to visit to help to send patients our way. "Morning," she said without turning around. "Scrambled or fried scrambled?" "Figured." She cracked 3 eggs into a pan. "Helen's got Chloe outside teaching her about compost again." I smiled. Chloe was 3 now, talked nonstop, called me grandpa, called everyone here auntie. She'd never remember the parking lot, the hypothermia, the fear. She'd only remember this family safety home. "You staying for breakfast?" I asked. "Can't." Olivia said shift at noon. Just wanted to drop off supplies. She nodded toward 3 grocery bags on the counter and check on the new resident. "Sarah, how's she doing?" "Good." I said quiet, but Helen's working on her. Helen works on everyone. Olivia slid eggs onto a plate, handed it to me. "Eat. You look thin." "I'm fine." "You're not fine. You never eat when you're worried." She crossed her arms. "What is it?" I didn't answer. "Michael, nothing." I said, "Just licensing renewal coming up, budget review, the usual." Olivia's eyes narrowed. She didn't believe me, but she let it go. "I got to run," she said. She kissed my cheek. "See you Sunday. Drive safe." She grabbed her keys, stopped at the door. "Michael, whatever you're carrying around, you don't have to carry it alone." "You know that, right?" I nodded. She left. I sat at the table with my eggs. Didn't eat them. Helen came in 10 minutes later, Chloe on her hip. Grandpa Chloe shouted. "We made compost." "That's great, sweetheart. It smells yucky." Helen laughed. "Set Chloe down." The little girl ran off toward the play area. Helen was 70 now, hair white, face lined, but stronger than she'd been 2 years ago. She ran financial literacy workshops twice a week, had a waiting list for those too. And 6 months ago, one of her daughters had reached out, apologized. They were talking now, slowly, carefully. "Coffee?" Helen asked. "I'm good." She poured herself a cup, sat down across from me. "You're brooding again." "I'm not brooding." "You've been brooding for 2 years." She took a sip. "But it's worse today." Why I didn't answer. "Michael Mail came," I said quietly. Helen's expression shifted. From her, I nodded. We didn't say Rachel's name much. Hadn't for 18 months. "You going to open it?" Helen asked. "I don't know." Deborah came in carrying a clipboard. She was Pine Valley's program director now. Paid position 20 hours a week. She'd grown into it confident, capable. No trace of the woman who'd flinched at loud noises. She was dating someone, a librarian from town. It was new, careful. But I saw the way her face lit up when she talked about him. "Morning," Deborah said. She poured coffee. "Licensing paperwork is done. Budget review is next week. We're solid." "Good," I said. She looked at Helen. Helen shook her head slightly. Deborah sat down. "What's wrong?" letter Helen said from Rachel. Deborah's face went still. Oh, we all sat there? 3 people who'd been through hell together, who'd survived? "You should read it," Deborah said finally. "Whatever it says, you should know." "What if I stopped? What if—" "What?" Helen asked gently. "What if she hates me?" The words came out quiet, broken. "What if she blames me for everything?" "What if then you'll know," Deborah said, "and you'll deal with it. Like you deal with everything." I waited until evening, sat on the porch, watched the sun set over the mountains, heard the sounds of Pine Valley around me, laughter, dishes, clattering, someone practicing guitar, life. 2 years ago, I'd made the choice. 12 women or 1 daughter. I'd chosen the 12, and I'd grieved every single day since. But I'd never regretted it. The women here, they were thriving. Helen teaching workshops, Deborah running programs, Olivia sending patients our way, Sarah learning to smile again, Chloe growing up safe. 12 lives, 12 futures. And Rachel I didn't know. Hadn't known for 18 months. After the arrest, things moved fast. Dmitry Vulov was taken down 6 months after that night. FBI operation, multi-state racketeering. I never knew if my anonymous tip helped. Didn't matter. He was in prison 20 years. Chad had been beaten badly a week before Dmitry's arrest. Hospitalized for 4 days. Broken ribs, concussion, someone sending a message. Rachel had been threatened. Calls, photos, but they never touched her. When Dmitry went down, the debt disappeared, wiped clean. Chad served 14 months in county jail. Got out 8 months ago. Last I heard, he was working retail in New Jersey, going to Gamblers Anonymous, trying to rebuild. Rachel took a plea deal. Misdemeanor false report, $5,000 fine she couldn't pay. 200 hours community service, 2 years probation, divorced Chad while he was still in jail. Mrs. Williams pleaded guilty, fined, moved away, and Rachel. She'd gone to Flagstaff, Arizona 20 months ago. I only knew because she'd sent a Christmas card last year. No message, just her name and address, a photo of a cactus. No phone calls, no emails, no forgiveness, just silence. Until today, I pulled the envelope from my pocket, looked at the handwriting, her handwriting, the same looping letters she'd used since she was 12. My hand shook. 2 years ago, I'd made the hardest choice of my life. It had cost me my daughter, but it had saved 12 women. I'd lived with that choice forever. But sitting there with her letter in my hands, I didn't feel at peace. I felt terrified. Terrified of what she'd say. Terrified she'd confirm what I already knew. That she'd never forgive me. That I'd lost her forever. terrified that somehow impossibly she'd forgiven me, and I wouldn't know how to handle that either. I turned the envelope over, saw the return address. Flagstaff. A street I didn't recognize. Felt the weight of it, one page, maybe two. 2 years of silence contained in the paper and ink. I took a breath and I opened it. The envelope felt heavier than it should. Postmarked Flagstaff, Arizona. Dated 3 weeks ago. Return address and handwriting I'd know anywhere. I opened it carefully. One page handwritten blue ink. Dad, I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve it. I've been in therapy for 2 years, twice a week for the first 18 months. Once a week now. I don't have words for how hard it's been. Rock bottom looks different when you're living in it. I work at a diner here. Breakfast and lunch shifts. It's honest work, hard work. The kind that makes you too tired to think at night. 3 months ago, a woman came in. Regular customer. Her name is Sarah. One day she had bruises. Tried to hide them with makeup, but I've done intake for domestic violence shelters. I know what to look for. I didn't say anything. Not my place, not my business. But she came back the next week. More bruises. And the week after that, finally, I asked if she was okay if she needed help. She broke down right there in the booth. Told me everything. Her husband, the violence. The isolation, how she had nowhere to go. I gave her numbers, shelters, hotlines, the same resources you used to hand out. She came back 2 weeks later, different lighter. She'd left, found a shelter, a program director named Tom, who had helped her get into transitional housing. She said, Tom saved my life. He could have turned me away. The shelter was full, but he made room. He said, no woman should have to choose between homelessness and violence. And I asked because I couldn't help myself. What if helping you meant hurting someone else? What if there wasn't room? Sarah looked at me like I was crazy. She said Tom wouldn't hurt anyone. That's the point. He protects people who can't protect themselves. That's not about choosing one person over another. That's about choosing love over harm. Dad, I fell apart right there in the diner, told her everything. The debt, the recordings, the plan to steal Pine Valley, the choice you made, the 2 years I spent hating you for it. Sarah listened. She didn't judge. When I finished, she said, your dad did what Tom did. He chose not to hurt people. That's not choosing them over you. That's choosing not to destroy them for you. There's a difference. And for the first time in 2 years, I understood. I've been going to Gamblers Anonymous for 20 months. I've relapsed 3 times. Twice at casinos, once online. Each time I crawled back to GA and started over, Chad called 6 months ago, asked if we could try again. And for one terrible moment, I almost said yes because being alone is hard. Because starting over is hard. Because admitting I destroyed my own life is harder than blaming you. But then I thought about you, about the choice you made, about choosing right over easy. And I said, no, I understand now, Dad. You didn't choose them instead of me. You chose not to destroy them for me. You chose to protect 12 women instead of enabling my husband's gambling and my cowardice because I was a coward. I knew about Chad's gambling. I ignored it. I made excuses, borrowed more money, thought we could fix it, thought if we just had one big win, everything would be okay. That's what gambling does. It makes you believe in magic, in shortcuts, in solutions that don't require you to change. I didn't want to change. I wanted you to fix it. To sacrifice Pine Valley so I wouldn't have to face consequences. You were right to say no. I'm trying, Dad. Trying to become someone worthy of being your daughter. Trying to build a life that doesn't depend on shortcuts or other people's sacrifices. I'm working, saving money, going to therapy, going to GA, paying off the fine from my plea deal, doing my community service hours. It's slow, it's hard. Some days I don't think I can do it. But I'm trying. I'm sorry for everything. For the recordings, for the lies, for trying to destroy something beautiful because I was desperate. For saying you weren't my father. for 2 years of silence. I hope Pine Valley is thriving. I hope the women there know how lucky they are. I hope you're at peace, and I hope maybe years from now we could have coffee and you could see who I've become, not who I was. I'm enclosing a check, $1 to 470s. It took me 2 years to save. It's the exact amount the women collected for me. The money I rejected. Please give it back to them. Tell them I finally understand what they were trying to give me. Not just money. Grace. Love, Rachel. P.S. I'm not asking you to forgive me. I'm just asking you to know I'm trying. I read it 3 times. Then I looked at the check drawn on a Flagstaff credit union. One 247er's memo line with gratitude and apology. My hands shook. 2 years. 2 years she'd been saving. Working breakfast shifts at a diner, putting away $10 here, $20 there. Building back towards something she'd thrown away in anger. I looked at the letter again at the handwriting. Neat, controlled, not the wild scrawl of 2 years ago. At the language therapy language, recovery language, rock bottom relapse enabling cowardice. She was doing the work, but doing the work didn't erase what she'd done. Didn't undo the recordings, the lies, the plan to destroy 12 women's lives. Trying wasn't the same as trustworthy. And I didn't know if I could trust her. Not yet. Maybe not ever. But she was trying. That had to count for something. I sat there until the sun set, until the porch went dark, until the motion lights kicked on. Inside, I heard voices, laughter, the sounds of Pine Valley settling in for the night. 12 women safe, thriving, building futures. And somewhere in Arizona, one woman working a diner shift, going to therapy, going to GA, trying to become someone she could live with. I'd made my choice 2 years ago, but Rachel was making hers now. And maybe that was enough to start with. I went inside, found paper and a pen, sat down at the kitchen table, started writing. Not long, not forgiveness, not reconciliation, just a door cracked open. Just enough. Rachel, I got your letter. Thank you for writing. I'm glad you're in therapy. I'm glad you're going to GA. I'm glad you said no to Chad. Those are hard choices. You're making them anyway. That matters. Pine Valley is doing well. We expanded to 12 cabins. State funding came through. We have a waiting list. The women here are thriving. Olivia graduated nursing school. She works at Adirondacks Health, sends patients our way. Chloe is 3 calls me Grandpa. Helen is 70, teaches financial literacy workshops, reconnected with one of her daughters. Deborah runs our programs now. She's confident, happy dating someone. They're all okay. Better than okay. I gave the check to them. They cried. Helen said to tell you, grace isn't something you earn. It's something you accept. I don't know what comes next, Rachel. I don't know if we can rebuild what we lost. Trust takes time. And I'm still processing everything that happened. But I'm glad you're trying. I'm glad you're building a life. And maybe someday we can have that coffee. Not now, not soon, but someday. Take care of yourself, Dad. I folded the letter, put it in an envelope, addressed it to Flagstaff. Walked outside down the driveway to the mailbox, raised the flag, and let it go. I wrote the letter by hand, took 3 drafts to get it right. Rachel, thank you for your letter. I'm proud of you for seeking help. I love you. I always have. You're my daughter. Nothing changes that but love and trust are different things. You're right, I chose not to destroy them for you. I'd make the same choice again. Trust is built through consistent action over time. You're on that path. Keep going. If you maintain recovery for 1 year, we can talk on the phone. 2 years may be a short visit to Pine Valley to meet the women whose lives you almost destroyed. Not to shame you, but to see who you've chosen not to become. 5 years will reassess. Maybe rebuild a relationship. I'm not abandoning you. I'm giving you space to become who you need to be. Earn back what you lost. The residents taught me something. Family isn't just blood. It's showing up, working, choosing love over selfishness every single day. Show me you can do that. Then we'll talk about family. I'm keeping the check, not for the residents. They won't accept it. They said returning it is between you and your own healing. I'm keeping it as a reminder that change is possible, that people can grow. Keep going, Rachel. I'm proud you're trying. Always, your father, Dad. P.S. Pine Valley is thriving. 12 cabins. Olivia sends her regards. No one is beyond saving if they're willing to do the work. I sealed it. Walked to the mailbox, raised. The flag stood there for a moment, then turned back toward home. Late afternoon, a car pulled up the driveway. Not a sheriff, not a threat. Child Protective Services, Michelle Turner. I recognized her from years of referrals. She got out, opened the passenger door. A woman emerged. Young 25, maybe dark hair, pulled back, bruises fading on her arms, eyes wide and frightened. Nicole Bennett, the name Olivia, had texted me this morning, Michael Michelle said. This is Nicole. Olivia sent her from the hospital. She needs somewhere safe. Nicole looked at the cabins, the garden, the main house, like she couldn't believe it was real. I don't have anywhere else to go, Nicole said quietly. My ex found me at my apartment. I can't go back. I stepped forward, kept my voice gentle. Welcome to Pine Valley, I said. You're safe here. Nicole's eyes filled with tears. Michelle handed me paperwork. Olivia said you'd have space. We always have space, I said. We walked inside. Olivia was in the kitchen with Chloe. Helen was at the table going over budget spreadsheets. Deborah was coordinating next week's therapy schedule. They all looked up when Nicole entered and I watched it happen. The same thing I'd seen dozens of times. The moment a broken woman realized she wasn't alone anymore. Olivia stood, smiled. Hey, Nicole, I'm glad you made it. You work here? Nicole asked. I volunteer on weekends. Olivia said I was a resident 2 years ago. Michael saved my life. Now I send patients his way. Helen walked over, extended her hand. Helen Crawford, I'll show you to your cabin, get you settled. I don't have money, Nicole started. You don't need money, Helen said firmly. You need safety. We've got that in spades. Deborah stepped forward. I'm Deborah, Program Director. We'll get you set up with therapy, legal aid, whatever you need, one step at a time. Nicole looked at me. Why are you doing this? Because someone has to, I said simply, and I can. Dinner that evening, long table, 12 residents, plus me, Olivia, Nicole, and Chloe. Pasta, salad, bread. Helen had baked that afternoon. Laughter stories. Chloe telling everyone about compost for the 15th time. Helen teaching the new women about financial planning. Deborah coordinating schedules. Olivia talking about a patient she'd seen at the hospital. Another referral coming next week. Nicole sat quiet, watching, taking it in. The way community worked, the way healing looked, the way broken people became whole again. I watched too. 2 years ago, I'd thought choosing them over Rachel would destroy me. I'd been wrong. Pain and peace could coexist. I missed Rachel, hoped she'd heal. Maybe one day we'd reconcile, but I wasn't alone, would never be alone. My phone buzzed. Text from Olivia. 2 more transfers from the hospital next week. We taken them. I type back, always room for people who need help. Evening. I stood on the porch, watched the sun set over the mountains. 12 cabins, lights on in each one. Smoke rising from chimneys. The garden ready for winter. The playground quiet, the sounds of Pine Valley settling in for the night. Rachel's letter in my pocket, her check tucked in my desk drawer. Nicole's frightened face, already less frightened after one meal with this family. The cycle continuing. I'd spent 37 years as a social worker protecting people who couldn't protect themselves. Then 4 years building a sanctuary where they protected each other. Rachel had been wrong about one thing. I wasn't alone. I was surrounded by family. The kind you choose. The kind that chooses you back. built on love, respect, mutual sacrifice, worth more than blood, worth everything. Stars appeared over the mountains. The motion lights kicked on, illuminating the driveway. Security cameras recording everything. But no threats tonight, no violence, just peace. I'd made the choice, the impossible, heartbreaking choice. And even if the cost was my daughter, I'd chosen right. Because some things are worth more than personal happiness, worth fighting for. Protecting the broken, the frightened, the one society forgets. That's always worth it. Always will be. Tomorrow the work continues, another woman arriving. Another life to rebuild, another chance to prove that family isn't about blood, it's about showing up. Rachel would find her way, or she wouldn't. That was her choice now. But here in this place we'd built together, 12 women were safe. 12 women who'd become my family. Who taught me that love isn't about claiming ownership. It's about creating space for people to heal. And that sometimes the hardest choice is the right one. I walked back inside. Helen was teaching Chloe a song. Deborah was brewing tea. Olivia was showing Nicole photos on her phone. This was me 2 years ago. Look at me now. Nicole smiled. Small, tentative, but real. The cycle continuing. I sat down, accepted the cup of tea Deborah handed me, and I was home. Looking back on this family story, I see the hardest truth I've ever learned. Love doesn't always mean saying yes. When Rachel came to Pine Valley with her recordings and her desperate plans, I faced a choice no father should face. But here's what I learned through that family betrayal. Sometimes protecting people from consequences isn't love. It's enabling. Don't make my mistake. Don't sacrifice innocent people to save someone from their own choices. I almost destroyed 12 women's lives because I was afraid to lose my daughter. God gave me the strength to choose differently. This family story taught me that family isn't just blood. It's commitment. It's showing up. It's choosing to do right even when it costs you everything. The women at Pine Valley became my family, not through DNA, but through mutual sacrifice and love. God showed me that truth when I needed it most. If you're facing family betrayal, whether from a child, a spouse, a parent, remember this. You can love someone and still set boundaries. You can grieve what you've lost and still build something beautiful with what remains. God doesn't promise easy choices. He promises to walk with us through the hard ones. The pain of family betrayal never fully disappears, but it can transform into wisdom, into strength, into a deeper understanding of what family truly means. Rachel and I may never fully reconcile, but I pray every day that God will guide her healing, and I'm grateful for the family He gave me when my world fell apart. This family story isn't about choosing strangers over blood. It's about choosing love over harm every single time. What would you have done in my place? Have you ever faced family betrayal or an impossible choice between loyalty and doing what's right? Share your story in the comments below. Your experience might help someone else. And if this story touched your heart, please share it and subscribe to our channel for more real stories about family faith and finding your way home.